Srinivas Murthy for convening this program, and Professor Raghavendra Gupta, who is coordinating this entire outreach program. And I'm very happy to be with such a beautiful audience. So, without wasting the time, let's start with the program itself. So, this outreach program has been planned with the objective to engage large audience and to bring the knowledge and expertise on the topic of machine learning to the audience. The program is organized in two basic modules. First one is machine learning for exploration that we will cover today in the day one, and second portion is machine learning for production that we will cover tomorrow, the day two of the outreach program. Today, the content we will discuss in today's module of the outreach program. First up, we will start with the introduction to machine learning. Then we will discuss the differences between the artificial learning and the natural learning. Then we will move to the technical definition of machine learning. What is the heart of machine learning, the different types, the applications, and after covering the machine learning for exploration, we will conclude this session for today. So let's start with the introduction to machine learning. I would like to start with this in a language. You can see the machine learning is comprising of basically two words. So first is machine and second is learning. Uh, Everyone learn in day-to-day life, and learning is what? It is the process of acquiring new understanding, new knowledge, new behaviors, new skills, and human starts learning with the birth and continues to learn until the death. Like in day-to-day interaction with the people, with the surrounding, with the ambience, we learn so many new things, and we perform our daily routine work and some technical work and all the things by learning itself, because human brains are made like this. So machine learning is what? Machine learning is to make the machines learn by themselves. Learn by themselves means machine is nothing, just a thing or the object. Create the to make work easier. And when we say we want to make a machine learn, what does it mean? We want to program the machine in a way so that it can learn on its own by itself. It is nothing but imitation to the human intelligence. Human intelligence, we people, we human beings are naturally intelligent, and God has created us like we can learn in our daily life, we can learn by sight, by processing, but machines cannot do that. So we program the machine so that it can learn on its own. Machine learning is basically a branch of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is basically to embed the intelligence artificially into the machines. So this is the introduction to machine learning. So what is the difference between the natural learning aspect and the artificial learning aspect? Is this picture is visible to everyone?
Yeah, it's
A
visible.
picture is there with a tiny dot. You can easily recognize what's going on. In this picture, everybody can see a tiny tot is trying to learn how to walk. There is some toy in his hand, and his or her mom is just supporting. So we can say This child is learning to walk with the help of this toy and with the support of his mom. And after few days or few months, this same child conceives how to walk. You can see in this clip how to walk, see how to make a decision. Look at his expressions. He is frightened at something. And then he has decided that he has to take a U-turn. See how beautifully he is taking a U-turn and he is not colliding with the wall. So this is the natural learning, the human intelligence. The boy has learned walking, running, making the decisions, taking the turns, and without the collisions. This is our natural learning. In case of the artificial learning, you can see here a humanoid robot, and we want to train this robot to have a backflip like this. To train this robot to backflip in this particular manner, a man has to backflip. We will measure all the angles, the degrees, the inches, the force, and everything. We will create the training data set. Then we will feed the training data set to such bipedal robot, and then he can repeat this performance. That is what making the machine to learn artificially. In a similar way, we can make a robot to dance like that. The robot cannot learn himself after watching somebody. We have to program, we have to feed the training data set, and only after that, that robot can repeat these steps. So you can easily differentiate that this is natural learning, and at the right hand side, there is artificial learning. Another example for the artificial learning or the machine learning is, you can see here this red one car. If I say this car is driverless car, means it is a self-driving car, there is no human driver inside it, and a program is controlling the entire operation, the safe control, how to drive, how to maintain in the lane, how to have a second exit on this circle, and without colliding with the other traffic. So how it is trained? We have to feed the data. And recently in the market, the automated cars or the self-driving cars are available, but the accuracy is not yet 100%. That's why they are not in the roads right now. But they are working on the artificial neural network, which is one of the major technique in the machine learning to train the self-driving cars. So let's have a technical definition now after the introduction, that what is machine learning, how it is different from the natural learning, what is artificial intelligence. Let's have a direct and technical definition of machine learning. So it has basically, it is a study of algorithms. In the algorithms, this is the technical part. We want to improve the performance of algorithm at some particular task with its experience. How we will take it? Suppose this is my algorithm A. Algorithm is what? It is basically the set of steps to perform a specific task, the finite steps, everybody know that. This is the algorithm. When it is executed, it performs a task T. Suppose T is a task. At particular time instant T naught, when it has been started, suppose its performance was P1, it has been run, and at the time instant T2, I say the performance P2 has been increased in comparison to P1 by the experience the algorithm has achieved during the experience after the performance 1. Means at a particular task T, we perform the task, we get the performance, and we record the performance. And after checking that how we can improve the performance from the experience, we improve the performance. Means algorithm is learning on its own self. That is what machine learning, to improve the performance of the algorithm at a particular task with its own experience. And the purpose is to optimize the performance criteria using the previous available data, or you can say the past experience. Past experience, P1 is the past experience. After the P1, it got the experience, it has learned. In our day-to-day life, what happens? Suppose you are doing a task. Suppose this is the task you are doing for the very first time. Suppose you are learning the swimming, or we have seen the boy was learning the walking. क्या होता है? First time when a tiny tot starts walking, he falls, he gets up, he falls, he gets up. In every experience, he learns how to balance himself. So in the similar way, we want to embed such kind of intelligence in our machines that perform the task, learn from that, and improve the performance to optimize the performance criteria. So this is the technical definition of machine learning. Now the question is, okay, that is the machine learning. Why do we need the machine learning? We have the human intelligence. We are doing so well in our lives, in our technical lives, in our scientist life. Then where do we need the machine learning? Machine learning is basically used to program the computers to optimize the performance criteria using the past data. And it is required to be used in specifically following situations. First one, where human expertise is not available, like navigating the Mars, where we do not have the past data, we do not have the human expertise, then we have to go on the hit and trial method. Then we program our machines to go for that. Second, where the humans are unable to explain their expertise, means human are expert, but they cannot create the algorithms for that. So speech recognition is example, like humans have the capability, like we are talking and we continuously talk or frequently talk, you can easily recognize my voice, you can easily understand what I am talking, but we cannot give the proper explicit algorithm for that. In that situation, we design some machine learning programs so that the speech can be recognized accurately. Third situation is when the solution changes with time. Means once you have written the algorithm and you say use it for forever. This is not the situation. The situation will change and the solution is required to be changed. In this situation, machine learning works. Not the traditional algorithms will work. For an example, routing in a computer network. Everybody knows in the computer network, there are so many routers, the load and the traffic that increases sometimes decreases. So as per that we have to adapt the algorithms as per the situation. In that situation we apply the machine learning to decide the optimal routing path for that. And another situation is when we have to adapt to a particular case like biometrics. You know that fingerprint identification, face recognition, and so on. All these we have to implement the machine learning. So these are the basic criteria or the situations when we do not, either we do not have the human expertise or we have the human expertise but we cannot explain that. In that situation we apply the machine learning. So where is the heart of machine learning? When we say the machine learning is this, machine learning is that, so heart lies in the data. Machine learning cannot work without the data. So it is called that data is heart of machine learning. Abhi, in the technical definition, what did we say? The machine learning is programming computers to optimize the performance criteria using the example data or the past experience. And we call it technically the training data on which we say we are programming, we are training our algorithm or the machine. So the heart of machine learning is the data. Now the picture, you must be thinking that what does picture has to do with the data. Actually, this is my recent experience with the Amazon Prime and I got it, and I want to give this example because I feel all of you are watching the films using some Amazon Prime or some other platforms. So what happens, I want to demonstrate, we are creating the general models from the data of particular example. How does it happen? Actually, just few days back, I watched a film, Saira Narsimha Reddy, on the same Amazon Prime Video, and I saw just yesterday I saw that Amazon Prime Video is just exhibiting this particular film to me that I can go for that. Getting my point? What happened? I just watched one film and they just predicted that this one can be the film I would like to watch in future. Means they are learning from the particular transaction, particular example, which was Saira Narsimha Reddy. And on that, they just predicted my behavior. That might be this would be the film I would like to watch, and they said it is recommended for me. Have you noticed that? It has been recommended. So what happens? It happens in your day-to-day life, in your real life or in your electronic life. Let me give you one example. Suppose you have visited your nearby some mart or the shopping mall, and you purchase a specific suppose you purchase a specific outfit, suppose, and you were very fascinated about it, that this is looking good at me and what, and some salesperson is over there and he or she just brought you a matching some accessory. Sir, ये ड्रेस के साथ ना ये ब्रेसलेट बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, and sometimes sales girl says कि ma'am this one is matching and perfectly goes with your outfit. That is what they are predicting our minds from the transaction or from example. And in our online shopping, what happens? Suppose you are buying the specific kind of shoes you have, even if you have not bought, even you are just looking for the different kind of shoes, then you just close the application, and next time when you log in with the same login id and credentials to the application, they will promote or they will recommend you some kind of shoes again. It happens to everyone, like in your real life or in your virtual life. This thing is very common. So this is what it is, just the example of data of particular Dr. Pradeep, do you want the control of my screen? Sorry for this interruption, but
Sorry, by mistake.
okay. So that's why I'm declining it. So that is the heart of machine learning. You can see this just one click to the shoes in your, you say in Amazon or Flipkart, you are looking through some specific shoes, and when you again log in, they will just recommend you such kind of shoes, such kind of accessories matching and as per your interest. So this is the specific example that in the machine learning, we build general models from the particular data set. That's why we say the heart of machine learning lies in the data. I hope it is clear to everyone that what is going on. We have the data, we extract the features from that, we train our machines, and in this way, we make our machines intelligent. So if I say that in this way, our machines learn, so how does it happen? We are learning from the data. You can see at the origin of this figure, we have raw data, and at the end of this figure, we will be having the knowledge, or you can say the information. First thing you must be very clear about is data is abundant. It is available in the data warehouses, data marts, and you can even extract the data. But knowledge, it is very expensive and very scarce. So what happens? This is the step. You can see the flow chart, or you can say the steps you have to go through in order to convert your data into the knowledge. First up, you will be having the raw data. Raw data means thus you have collected the heterogeneous data from the different resources and you have just collected. After that, you will do the selection and the cleaning of the data. Selection and cleaning, suppose this is the data set. You are having so much from the different stores and this and this. You will select that what kind of features, what kind of tuples you will be requiring for that. Then cleaning. Cleaning means sometimes there are some missing values, there are some duplicates, there are some non-legitimate values, some null values. Then you have to clean that. And another thing you have to do in selection and cleaning, that you have to make it homogeneous. Heterogeneous means there are the data set with the different attributes which are not compatible with each other. The type of the data may be different. So we have to make it converged one, or you can say consolidated one, the selected data and the clean data. So that is called target data. When we have selected that on this data, we will learn the features and we will train our machines. So second step is pre-processing. There is a difference between the selection and cleaning and the pre-processing. It is at the primary level. Means before the selection and cleaning, you do not have the data on which you have to work technically in the machine learning. But after this step, after getting the target data, you have to start learning from here onwards. You will start learning. So in the learning and in the total process of knowledge mining, this is the step pre-processing. In this, you can normalize your data. You can remove the outliers. You can reduce your data. अब normalize, outlier and reduction, what does it mean? ऐसा लगता है that we have explained so many terms just in once. Nothing to worry. Pre-processing is nothing but to prepare your data so that it can be used beautifully to train your machines. We can normalize if we want to have all the values between 0 or 1. Outlier, suppose all the values are in the range of 100 to 200 and out of the blue some value comes out 500. It means some error is there. Normally it happens. For an example, all of us goes through the examination process and maximum marks is 100 in the exam and minimum marks is 0. So we know the range of marks will be 0 to 100 and all the marks are like 0 to 100, 0 to 100, and out of the blue somebody has got 203. So this kind of errors can be removed or they can be handled as per the situation. So this is called the pre-processing, just to prepare your data to improve the quality of data and for further to be used for the training of your machines. Now the next step is feature engineering. Feature engineering, see in your data set, if we talk in the two-dimensional model, uh, all of you are, I hope, aware of the databases. If not, then no issues. Data is mostly stored in the 2D columns, 2D, you can say matrices. So if I read like this, rows, and read like this, columns. Columns normally denote your features and rows denotes the tuples like your roll number, your name, your marks, your performance, your address. These are the features, and these rows like roll number 1, 2, 3. So in this way, feature engineering is what? When we have to extract the features or we have to learn from the data, sometimes all of the features are not useful. Suppose I am interested in your marks, and in your details there is marks, your father's name, your mother's name, your address, your contact number. What do I need to compute the highest marks? Only the roll number, max to max the name of the student and the marks, right? So we have to select the features which is required for the application and to train the machines. So this is called feature engineering. In case you are doing the image processing in the machine learning, so what happens? Not all the features or not all the parts of the picture are useful. So what we do, we extract the features from that picture. And after that, when we have the done with the feature engineering, we will be having transformed data and then we apply the machine learning. At this point, we will apply the actual machine learning techniques. We will discuss in next a few concepts. And what will happen from the data after applying the machine learning, we will be having the interesting patterns and the rules with the help of which we can have the useful knowledge. In this way, your data will be transformed into the knowledge. Data is not as such useful, but the knowledge is very useful. Let's take an example of it. Raw data is uh, let's take example of online shopping cart. There are 100 users, 100 customers, they are buying different type of things. So this has become the raw data. After selection, cleaning, target processing, pre-processing, transform data. Suppose warehouse, yeah, suppose some platform, take an example of Amazon. They have found out that if a person orders a butter is like Amul butter, then there are 70% chances that that person will go for the bread. If you can see, this is a rule. From the transaction that the person has bought the bread, has bought the jam, has brought the egg, and so and so. So all the transactions are raw data, but after all these process, it has come to know that if a customer buys a butter, then there are 70% chances that he will go for the bread. So in this way, the information is patched, information is obtained from the data. And it is very useful to build a model with a good and very useful approximations. I hope it is clear to everyone that how the data is mined into the useful knowledge. And this is the, in short, machine learning workflow. First up, you have to input the data. Second, analyze the data and find the interesting patterns, make the predictions from the patterns, and store the feedback. Like, suppose I am training my self-driving car. I have given the training data set. The self-driving car will learn, find the pattern, make the prediction that it has to take a turn without clasping in the traffic. And at every time I store the feedback for the feedback means I'm improving my performance for my next experience. I'm learning from experience. I'll perform again and I'll perform better than previous attempt. So next is, what are the different types of machine learning? Machine learning techniques are basically divided into two categories. You can see here. First is supervised machine learning and second is unsupervised. Very much idea is clear from the name. Supervised means some kind of supervision is there, and unsupervised means there is no supervision. What is the difference? In the supervised learning, we have the data set like which is having input and output. Right, just few seconds before I told you, suppose this is my data set and I say this is the input features and this is the output, and these are different tuples. Suppose 1000 tuple, 10,000 tuples, and so on. Let's take an example. I say color. First feature is color. Second, I say texture. Fourth, I say taste, smell, and weight. Some kind of features are there. And I say output is, it is a fruit named apple. Color red, taste sweet, weight this, texture this, and that. Then I make an entry for the color, taste, smell, and weight, and I say it is orange. You can see that I'm recording the features of the fruits and I'm making their output that such kind of features means it's an apple, such kind of features it means it's an orange, such kind of features it is guava, and so on. So if I provide such kind of data, which is having input features and output, labeled output, these are called labels. If it is labeled, it means it is supervised learning. There will be supervisor. We will feed the data, we will match the output with the predictions, we will get the error, and we will improve the performance of algorithm. But in unsupervised, it is not like that. We do not have the supervisor. We do have the input data. We interpret, and what we can do, max to max, we can club the data on the basis of their similarity. Just take an example. Right now, suppose I'm very new in your class. Either you are faculty or a student. It happens to everyone sometimes that you have entered a new class. Suppose you are faculty and you don't know anybody, like no registration number, no roll number, no name. What do we say? backbenchers. What does it mean? All the students who are sitting at the last desks. That is what unsupervised, because हमें मालूम ही नहीं है, we don't have the idea what are their names, what are their class, what are their registration number. We call them like backbenchers. Like a person who is sitting in yellow shirt, we say, yes, you yellow shirt, please stand up. That is what? Unsupervised. We don't have the recognition of that particular person. And in the supervised, what will happen? You do have, suppose he's wearing the ID card, and then we can say, yes, Mr. X or Mr. Y, that what are you doing? So this is the difference. In the supervised, you have the particular labeling, but in unsupervised, you do not have the labeling, you have the input data, and you can only make the segregations. That's all. Further, the supervised learning is classified in two categories. First is classification and second is regression. Classifications means you are dealing with the categories, that on this basis of the features, you are categorize it into the category 1, 2, 3 and so many. There is no number. There is just category 1, 2, 3 and categories. In the regression, you are having the numeric values, continuous numeric values. Let's take an example of classification, that you are given with the 3 or 4 kind of fruits, and you are just going to differentiate that this is apple, this is orange and this is guava. In the regression, you are predicting stock prices, that you have the data for the last 10 years, past 10 years, and in today's day, you want to see that what will be the price, stock price of this particular industry or this particular stock. So this is the example of regression. And for the classification in the stock market, you can classify the same problem in the classification and regression. Suppose I want to ask whether the stock market will crash or not, means the answer will be yes or no. It means I am classifying on the basis of the previous data. And if I want to see that whether the particular stock will be, the price of the particular stock will be increased or will be decreased, means I am finding it out what is the previous value and what will be the next value in the upcoming year, and that will be the example of regression. So these are basically two types, the supervised and unsupervised. Unsupervised is further classified as classification and regression, and unsupervised is called another name, clustering. Clustering means the similar type of things are grouped together. Suppose these are the things, these are the objects, and I'm classifying these two are similar, these two are similar. So I will make this is cluster 1, this is cluster 2, and this is not similar to anybody, so it is alone in the cluster C3, and this is alone in the cluster C4. Let's have a detailed discussion on the types with the applications. First up, I would like to explain association analysis, the application of machine learning. In the association analysis, you can see that is the clip is visible to everyone?
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
Can
Yes, ma'am.
anybody from the audience tell me that what does it portray? क्या लगता है इसको देख के कि क्या कहना चाह रहा है ये image? What is the perception of this? Anybody from the audience, please don't feel hesitated. If you do not discuss, if you do not speak, it means I don't know what is you learning or not.
The bread which is trying to melt the butter by itself.
Yeah, and you can you see the blush? This one,
Yes,
the
but
blush
it is
on the
happy.
bread and blush on the butter, and the
Yes.
heart signifies that both are happy with each other, right?
Yes.
Hello? So association analysis is what? You can see the bread is happy with butter or butter is happy with bread. And in the market basket analysis, the shopping basket or the online shopping cart we discuss, that is what. And another example we take. Suppose you go for a Coke bottle. Most of us or every one of us, the summers are approaching us, so we buy the Coca-Cola bottle. And when we buy for a bottle, maybe a PET bottle or a glass bottle, sometimes shopkeeper offers then buy the glass also. It happens to everyone. When we go for a PET bottle, they offer us some disposable glasses. This is the association. In a similar way, when we go for the glass bottle, they offer us that buy a straw. It happens or not? It happens to me, and I saw that it happens when I buy some bread. Then the shopkeeper offers, "Ma'am, buy the butter, buy the jam, or you can buy the mayonnaise." And when I go for the cold drinks, they offer that, "Please purchase the glass or go for the straw." Then it is what? It is association analysis. And in our and let's take a bigger example. Suppose you buy a car. Whenever you will buy a car, they will come with you. They will come with some insurance policy with them. Means if you are buying a car, the car को road पे ले जाने से पहले get it insured, get all the accessories. It happens or not? So this is what association analysis. If a person buys X object, we will offer that you should buy Y, and how this Y is obtained by understanding the association links. That 100 people who bought bread, they also bought, suppose 100 bought the bread, out of which 70 went for the butter. So we can compute such kind of associations that 70% there are chances if somebody goes for the bread, he or she will go for the butter too. So such kind of association analysis are learned in the market, and the basket analysis is done. So for the target marketing, the application is target marketing, that sell this product or market this product to the specific audience who are supposed to buy that, not to market everyone, who are supposed to buy that. Another example is, or you can say the application is prediction. This is the data set. You can see we have recorded the features and we have categorized them in the apple and oranges. We have created a database with all the features, and it is the supervised learning. I have labeled them either the orange and apple. Every object is labeled either the orange and apple. Now how the learning is taking place, look at this clip. At the step 1, what happens? A person, supervisor, comes and shows this machine that such kind of object is called an apple. Minded, such kind of object is apple. Now everyone has gone and this machine is presented with this kind of object. Now what he has to do, this machine has to, yeah, that person told me if something is round, the texture is like that, smell is like that, it can be an apple. So this is the supervisor. He feeds the data to the machine. Machine looks at the unforeseen object. He learns with the previously provided, the past data, or you can say the history data, the training data, but it has to make the prediction on unforeseen data. Like the green apple we saw, but it may or may not be able to predict the object in the correct way. That depends upon the accuracy of your algorithm, but ultimately its target is to classify the unforeseen object whether it is orange or apple. Third thing, he has no idea. We have give him the two categories, orange or apple. So he has classified that it is an apple because it is not the orange by the fragrance, by the weight, by the texture. So in this way, the prediction goes on. Target marketing, another example, another application. Target marketing, suppose this is the data set, and I say these are the people who go for the vegetables, means they are totally pure veggies. They are the non-veg, who go for the non-veg. Suppose you are in a mart or online shopping mart, they go for the green veggies and they go for the non-veg. And these are the people who go for the milk products. So what happens? Suppose you are going to the mart regularly or frequently, then they will record what kind of customer you are. You go for the vegetables or vegetarian products, you go for the milk products, or you go for the non-veg products. Suppose today you have just gone to some market and you bought veggies, and next time you bought milk, and then next time veggies, then next time milk, and then next time veggies. So they will keep track that 3 times you bought the veggies, 2 times you bought the milk, but you have not bought the non-veg for even once. So they will categorize you. Okay, next time whenever they will be having some new kind of vegetarian product, they will showcase it to you. They will target you to purchase that because you have the history of having such kind of purchases. That is called target marketing. And another application is, you can see this game. Maybe you people have already sometimes watched this game or played this game, the Pac-Man. What happens in this? There are small white dots. It eats, this Pac-Man moves and eats these white dots, and eating one white dot increases its score, which is reflected like this. But in case, rather, instead of eating this dot, it eats this another Pac-Man, it means it will die. So if it eats the white dot, see, it is eating, so it is called reward. And in case it collides with the other Pac-Man, it will be punishment. So such kind of games can be drawn, and most of the gaming softwares are built with the machine learning. So let's have a detailed discussion in the technical sense, that what are the machine learning types and how these applications are built. So first application we discuss is the target marketing or basket analysis by learning the association. How does it happen? It works on the Bayesian learning rule, Bayesian probability rule. Everyone knows that. What is the meaning of this symbol? Now we are discussing the technical definitions, so there may be little technical terms. So this is the probability of y when x is given, means probability that someone who buys x will also buy y, where x and y are the services or the products. If I say bread over butter, it means what is the probability that if somebody has bought the butter, will also buy the bread. And in the basket analysis, we learned such kind of association, and we can have the target marketing. And how it happens? Suppose these are the items available in the mart, and these are the transactions we have set. We will see the frequency, we will see the minimum support, matlab minimum times it has been bought, and we find out this is the set of frequent items. Means if somebody has bought that item 1, we have the chances we will promote the item 2. In this way, we can have, if somebody has bought this product, he or she will go for the particular product. For this purpose, what do we need? First up, the data set. Second, the learning parameters. These are the parameters, the support and the frequency. And third, we will bring out some association rules, and then we will say that we have analyzed the basket. Basket means all the transactions we have analyzed, and now we can go for the target marketing. So in this way, the application is designed using the machine learning techniques, and this particular kind of machine learning technique is called association links. Another application we discussed, the prediction. Just few slides back, we discussed the prediction. It was the application of the classification technique. There are so many classifiers, but the particular technique is classification. How does it happen? We provide the training data to the machine with the help of supervisor. Like this, he has shown him different type of red apples. This is also red apple, that is also red apple, and then he is presented with some different kind of object, and all the objects were labeled only in 2 ways, apple or oranges. So it has categorized it like it is an apple. You can see the type of apples it is showing, the different type of apples, but still the robo is capable to predict it because it has learned with the help of supervisor during the training data. First up, the training data has been fed, training is done, then it is fed with the test data, and we see how it performs. Whatever is the performance, we give the feedback so that it can learn better. So in this way, the supervised learning works. We train, we test, we give the feedback so that it can learn better, it can learn and it can perform better. So this is the prediction, or you can say the classification is done in this way. Let's see the technically with another example. Credit card, the risk of credit card. Uh, Most of you are having purchasing some credit cards, and when you apply for the credit card, they ask so many questions to you. Are you employed? Are you not employed? What is your income? Is the income, show us the salary proof? What is the income? Means what do? They are just checking it out. For the bank is checking it out whether the credit card should be allotted to you or not, means issued to you or not, because they want to see the risk. Suppose you are not capable of paying the bill and you get a credit card, then it will be difficult for them because of the high risk, or in this situation they have to recover the money from the customer. And before issuing the credit card, they do the credit scoring. Suppose the rule is, if the income is greater than theta 1 and saving is greater than theta 2, only then the risk is low, otherwise the risk is high. Here they have considered basically two features, the income and the savings. Suppose I am the bank and you are the customer, you have come to me and I asked, what is your income? You say it's 5 lakh per month. मैंने कहा okay. Then I asked, what is your savings? Tell me a rough amount. Then you said, out of 5 lakh, 2 lakh I save monthly. Okay. And I saw what is my threshold. I saw 1 lakh was my threshold for the income and 50,000 was the threshold for saving. It means in this case, your situation, you will be the low risk, your credit card scoring will be very good, and the credit card can be issued to you. You can see here, because we have two features, income and savings, we can plot the two-dimensional graph. You can see on the x-axis we have plotted income, and on the y-axis we have plotted savings. I am from the bank. I have already set theta 1 as 1 lakh and theta 2 as 50,000. And you are very good income like this and very good savings like this. Then you are in the low risk category and your credit card will be issued within few days. But in case you say my salary is 15K monthly and my saving is 10K, so it is in the high risk region, somewhere here you will lie. So in this way we classify the objects, things, or the data set. First up, we are given with the how this rule has been set. This is not this has not been set by the some man or something. It is from the data set. We have supplied the data set. From that, supply the data set means what? Maybe you might be wondering that what is kind of the data set and how such rule can be invented. What happens? Suppose one person came with 1 lakh salary and 50,000 savings, and we issued the credit card, and after 6 months we got that he's paying the installments, he's paying the bill perfectly. This is first example, my data element 1. In second case, somebody with a 5 lakh income but zero savings, he was good enough to pay the bill in first few months, but after that he was lacking to pay the bill and the budget was just, the limit was overrun. Then I got with a 50,000 income and 5,000 savings, the person was not able to pay the credit card bills. In this way, such kind of past experiences are used to mine such kind of rules, and such kind of rules, once they are built, are used to classify new customers, whether they are in high risk category or the low risk category. I hope it is clear to everyone that from the previous data, we mine the rule, we get the rule, and this rule can be done with the ANN technique, decision trees. You may have the nearest neighbor, you may have support vector machine. These are the few classifiers which are available in literature or in the machine learning techniques, but the purpose is same. We will be provided with the data, then these techniques will run, They will learn, they will find out such kind of rules, and when they will be provided with test data or unforeseen data, they will categorize the particular customer either in the high risk or the low risk. So in this way, the classification works. Another example of classification is face recognition. You can see these are the training examples. And if you see a little bit with the attention, that these are the faces of the same person with the different angles. Suppose these are the training examples of a person, and these are all fed to the machine. It will learn, it will extract the feature like the distance between the eyebrows, the height of the forehead, the inclination of nose, distance between the nose and the lips. These are the few features the machine will extract, because only on such kind of features the machine can differentiate that this is person X or this is person Y. Suppose these these pictures are given to this machine has fetched some features and learned, and then these 4 images were presented to this machine, and the machine will classify this is the identified person, they will not be identified. So in this way, the face recognition works. We supply the images, the machine extracts the feature as per the algorithm, the machine learning algorithm you have supplied. The machine will learn, machine will be trained, and then it can identify the test images. Test images are which are not supplied earlier. You can see this one image was not in that training set, but still it is able to identify that person out of the learning. Another example of classification is spam mail. All of you are using some Gmail, some Outlook mail, some Yahoo mail, and there is some folder called the spam mails, yeah, junk mails. You know that, na? You can check in your Gmail, there is a spam folder, junk folder, spam or junk. What does it mean? We do get all the emails. Suppose the 20 emails I'm getting or 30 emails I'm getting. So there is a classifier algorithm. Whether it is Gmail, then Google, Yahoo Mail, then Yahoo. The classifier, what does it do? It categorizes the mails in categories. Inbox means the worthy mails, and the spam means the junk mails. And how does it happen? It happens on the features of that mail, that who is the sender, what is the frequency of mails. Sometimes what happen, we promote some event, you may get some promotional messages again and again in the spam mails, and sometimes some useful mails are also found in the junk folder or the spam mails. How does it happen? It means your classifier is not accurate enough to classify the mails into 2 categories. So this is also a application of classification, machine learning application, which is running in our Gmail and our Outlook mail and Yahoo mail, which categorize all the incoming mails into categories. Spam or the inbox means useful and useless mails on the classifications. In the supervised application, supervised machine learning applications, one is prediction by the classification, in which you have to categorize the objects, whether it is a type 1 or it is a type 2. But in the regression, we have to deal with the continuous values. Let's take an example of predicting a price of a car. So if I say y is the price and x is the car attribute, and theta are the learning parameters of the model, it is the linear regression example. It can be multi-linear or it can be not so linear. So regression is what? You have the continuous values of x. You can see on the x-axis mileage. You can see that it per liter this much kilometers it can travel. I'm taking just one parameter here to plot in the 2-dimensional graph. Suppose x is the feature mileage on which I am predicting the price. So after setting the training data, it learns a model like this. It is a simple line equation. If you can see, y is equal to mx plus c We have all learned it in our class 9 or class 10 standard mathematics, whereas m is the slope and c is the displacement. And with this line, if you see, you can see this is the displacement from the origin and the slope of line. So what happens, how the slope of line and the displacement will be learned? These two parameters will be learned from the training data set, and after that the model will be fitted as a straight line, and you can see these are the data points, the past data set from which this line has been drawn. Now the when next some element will come with the mileage like this, it will be given the value of price like this. Suppose this is 1, 2, 3 units or 4 units of mileage, and somebody comes with 4 units of mileage in the prediction. Then you will go with the where the line meets with the 4 units of mileage. You will say the price will be this much units. Once you learn from the training data set, some line equation will be learned, plotted, and for the new objects or for the unforeseen data, this line will be considered for making the predictions. So regression works like this: stock market price prediction, house price prediction, car price prediction. These are few projects available on the, you can see on the GitHub, or some examples available in the books for the regression exam. After supervised learning in both the categories, the classification and regression, let's move to the unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning means there is no supervisor, there is no labeling of the data. We do have only the input data. And what can we do? We can only cluster them, segment them into the similar groups. Suppose these are the objects, the data points, which are similar to each other. They have been clustered as a cluster 3. These are similar on some similarity counts, similarity criteria. So they are combined as a cluster 1 and the cluster 2. So this is the clustering. What are the applications of clustering? First up, the customer segmentation. Let's take an example. These are the non-veggie customers, these are the veggies, and these are the milk product buyers. So in this way, the customers can be clubbed, and the customer segmentation in the customer relationship management. Customer relationship management is what? When you enter a mart, suppose, and somebody knows you, and when you enter, they offer you, ma'am, you like this, or sir, you like this, we have this product new for you. How do you feel? Of course, you feel very good that the mart owner knows you and knows your taste and bringing you the best product for you. That is what customer relationship management in our business, in our commercial life. It is very important because we have to maintain the loyalty towards the customer, and this unsupervised learning clustering helps a lot. Another example is image compression, or you can say the color quantization. Suppose these are the images, and the similar kind of color or quantization we have to club so that we can reduce the size of image without losing the information. And another example is bioinformatics. Bioinformatics is like, you know, that DNA genes and these strings are very large and with the repeated sequences. So what do? We just compress the strings, we make some analysis, and we decompress with the help of unsupervised learning. And another example, the third type of learning, you might be wondering that we have discussed supervised, unsupervised, and third category, which is mentioned with the machine learning techniques, is the reinforcement learning. First is supervised, then unsupervised, and then reinforcement. In the reinforcement, there is no supervision, but there is a delayed reward, means the reward and punishment policy works, or you can say the credit assignment problem works. And it is applied in the application are basically the games. This is the actual Pac-Man game. You can see the Pac-Man is moving, it is eating the white dots. When it eats a new white dot, scores increases. And if it comes in contact of these red or blue, some other creatures, then it will die. It is moving. Just have a look. It is moving very safely without coming in contact of this red and blue. If it comes in contact of this red and blue, the game will be over because the credit will not be given. But it has completed the stage without coming in contact of this red and blue. And in this way, the applications are made with the reinforcement learning, like robo in a maze or game playing or multiple agents are there, partial observation is there. In that situation, reinforcement learning finds the applications. So after the discussion of the applications, because for the day one, we are discussing the machine learning for exploration. We are exploring the different fields, different areas, what are the different types, their applications. So let's have a look on the growth because we are exploring the machine learning. So in your real life, in your day-to-day life, you can see the machine learning is being used for the speech recognition, natural language processing, semantic analysis, computer vision, or you can say the uh, face recognition, medical outcomes analysis. The recent latest topic on the medical outcome analysis is COVID-19 test through image processing. In these days, COVID-19 is really has just influenced our life in a very bad way. So medical outcome analysis, these days, COVID-19 prediction is being done with the help of machine learning techniques. And another example for this is robot control. You have heard about the robots treating or helping the COVID patients rather than the ward boys and nurses, because it is contagious, it spreads so fast. So in various hospitals, in fact in the Manipal hospitals, if you heard about it, in the Manipal hospitals, the robots are installed, robots are there to take care of the patients, to perform the surgeries. Even in the main Manipal hospital, there are robots who can perform very difficult and very minute surgeries, which are very difficult to be done with the human intelligence even. So the medical field is also having so many applications of the machine learning. You can see in your day-to-day life, you can Google that what are the machine learning applications in the medical line. And the computational biology, like that we have to predict. So many research is going on that such kind of animals are having, such kind of humans are having this DNA composition. If these DNA composition are meeting with that particular, then how the new generation will be. So such kind of computations, some genetic diseases can be identified using the biological computations. That diabetes is the most common example. The DNA or genes are tested of the previous generation, and then we can compute that previous generation was having the diabetes, then these are the chances that the offspring will be having the same kind of disease. So in this way, machine learning is growing and it is finding so many application in our day-to-day life, in our real life. And why it is accelerating? The reason is the machine learning algorithms are improving day to day. Machine learning to deep learning, very common. Second, it is very easy to capture the data now, to transmit the data, because we have so many tools, we have fast computers, we have fast networks, so it is very difficult. So it has become very easy, that in the previous days it was very difficult to capture the data, to analyze and to have the outcomes, but nowadays it is very easy to capture the data, to share it with somebody. And so, and third reason is software are difficult to write by hand. So it is better that we devise some machine learning algorithm, software can be written on its own and it can be improved. We do have new sensors, we do have new devices. So these are the yes, please, dear participants, if possible, please mute your mics. I request, dear participants, please mute your mic. Thank you. So these are the reasons that's why the machine learning is growing, because the improved data capture techniques, new improved networking and faster computers, machine learning to deep learning algorithms, new sensors, and the demand in the market, because we need everything customized. Traditional things are not working these days. So in this situation, when we have the failures of the expert system, Now we are working with the extraction of knowledge from the humans expert directly. So let's conclude the day one. Then we'll be having the questionnaire round. So in the outreach program where we are going through the journey to machine learning, first one is the level one. We are exploring the machine learning that is covered today. And the level two of the outreach program means the day two, which is tomorrow. We will discuss the machine learning for production, how the machine learning is being used in production and in the industry. You can go through the data set like UCI repository, KDD, StatLab, there, and journals. If you want to access some machine learning research, these are the few journals which are popular one with very high indexing and with very high citations. The exposure is very good. And the conferences, you can go for the machine learning, either to refer the text or the literature, or you want to publish your work, then you should go for these graded conferences. These are few conferences on that, and that's all from my side. You can now the session is open to ask the queries. If you have any query, then you are most welcome. Dear audience, you are most welcome to ask any query if you at your end. If you have any doubt regarding the day one, the session one, you are most welcome.
Yeah,
Ma'am, I want to start publishing in this machine learning algorithm. Where should I start my research?
Right. Can you please come again? Your voice is lacking a little bit.
can you please?
Ma'am, can you ask the question again, please?
Yes, ma'am, I have doubt. Is there? Hello.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Actually,
Yes.
we have a set of classification techniques are there. Decision trees, neural networks, support vector machines, and may I know which one is best classification technique while we are having is a vast training data.
Whatever the technique you are using, first requirement of machine learning techniques is you must have the vast amount of data. Second thing, the performance of your technique will totally depend upon two things: the type of application and the kind of data you have. Like for an example, if there are non-linear relationship in the features, means you cannot associate one feature to another in the linear order, so the ANN will work better. But if you have lesser amount of data, ANN will not work. If you have discrepancies in the data, like some missing values are there or unstable data is there, then decision trees will work better. So this is upon the application, because and the data you have to, if you are developing any kind of learning model, then you have to analyze your data first, keep the all statistics in your mind on record, and on the statistics you can decide that which model is to be selected. Without the analysis of the data, you cannot say that I do have this amount of data, then what technique should I apply, because it is all under the mathematics behind the techniques. I understand in most of the online courses or the books which are not well furnished with the machine learning techniques, they hide the things because they don't have the explanation for that. All the learning techniques are backed by mathematics, and if you don't know the mathematics or you don't know the features of your data, you cannot find the best algorithm.
Thank you. Ma'am, in chat box, one question is there.
Yeah. Professor Shanti, I think she is asking if I want to publish a paper, where should I start in linear regression to publish the result-oriented Scopus? Ma'am, if you are starting publication, then I would suggest you go for the conferences. Because in the conference, you will get the exposure, you will get the feedback, and not taking so much time. So you can go for the Scopus Index conferences. And if you want some assistance or some help, then I can help you out. Because recently I'm chairing 2 sessions in 2 different Scopus indexed conferences. One is being conducted by the NIT Arunachal Pradesh. Second one is NIT Mizoram. And recently our own university is also planning for other conferences, all are Scopus Index. So we can discuss. I suggest you start with the Scopus Index conferences, take the reviews, improve your script, and then extend your paper. Because in the conference, you need not to give all the implementation details. You can give the algorithm, you can freeze the work, and then giving the complete implementation and all the data set and all the results, you extend the paper in the journals. So start with the conference, extend the work for the journal, and get it published. Next question is, machine learning is in digital electronics? Yes. Actually, this is the era of IoT, Industry 4.2 and cloud. And these things do not work without digital electronics. Suppose, let's take an example of home automation. You have entered in your room and lights are on. When you go out of your room, lights are off. Lights means the electronics, and machine learning is how it will on and off on its own self. Like smart irrigation system in the agriculture, home automation, smart city projects, all these are associated with the machine learning digital electronics, because sensors are nothing but apart from the electronics itself. And without sensors, IoT does not work. And IoT without the collaboration of machine learning cannot produce any result. So IoT is IoT plus machine learning plus sensors, and sensors are directly from the digital electronics. Thank you. My email ID, yeah, I'm just typing over here. You can drop me the queries if you have any, not an issue. Yeah, it is somyagoyal1988@gmail.com. I'm typing for everyone even. If you have any query, or you can contact, because collaboration, if you want to make the publication, we can collaborate. I'm chairing some sessions and I'm also in a project. So if you want to collaborate, no issues. Yes, you are working for research paper on farming. Yeah, can you explain in farming what are you doing? Is it the smart farming, or just a little bit more information so that I can collaborate?
Yes. Any questions are there from your side?
Yes, you are most welcome. If any query I can help, then I would be more happy. Means in case I can solve any query, please bring the queries. If you have any kind of doubts, please bring. I'll be more than happy. Yeah,
Ma'am,
I guess. Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. My mic was not functioning. I'm writing a research paper on farming for crop production in smart farming.
Right.
So can you help me in
Yeah,
that
sure.
regard?
What you have to do in the smart farming, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम अपने किसी भी फार्मर के पास ये होता है कि he has to decide that in which season what kind of crop and what kind of seed should be there. Means you have to decide it smartly from the previous data set. In this situation, in this season, if it flows, if he plows that particular seeds, it will result better. Like crop production is what you have to plow, you have to do the like rice crops, how does it work, and when to be plowed, when to be given the water. So all the things from the soil analysis to the moisture analysis to the season, and you can collect the data set. It is available on the internet also from the government sites. You can collect the data set, you apply the prediction techniques, and you can devise results like in this season with this soil, that particular farmer should go for that particular product or the crop. It will be helpful. So in this way you can plan your work.
Ma'am, thank you for the information. Ma'am, to be honest, I have to submit this by tomorrow evening.
Okay, so till date what have you done?
Yeah, I have just got an information about the crop productivity, and I'm starting like this, like crop productivity is more important in the life. Like the
Well,
abstract is like defining crop productivity and what are the advantages and disadvantages.
no,
And
no, no. Please don't do that. It seems like you are very kiddish and you have no idea of the research paper. Do one thing.
okay,
Write it like the crop production. Huh. Write it like there is a requirement of the crop production. Yeah, you can say the farming uh, constitutes the 50% or 60%. Take the data from the internet of our Indian economy, and this percent of economy depends upon the farming is type say, and this field of economy requires the support from the uh, IoT or from the technology. And फिर उसको start करो. Technology means the smart farming, and it will increase the productivity. And अगर आप crop production पे कर रहे हो तब इसको start करो that in which season which crop should be plowed and what should be the uh, requirements of the soil, the fertilizers, and so pesticides and water requirements that can be smartly computed, so so that we can increase the productivity of that particular crop. You start like this: the crop connected with the economy, then the crop with the technology, and then your idea that you will analyze all the requirements which which are essential for increasing the production, and then you suggest your idea. Am I clear?
yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Because it will increase the impact of your research paper, and not only that, it will give the clear cut description of your work. And then after writing the abstract in the introduction, you start like the economy depends upon the farming in this way. Farming is being supported by the technology, smart irrigation is there, smart plowing is there, robots are doing the farming, and so and so. बहुत सारा material you will get from the literature, cite it. In the related work you cite it, and then you propose your model that what is new in your work, whether you are applying some different algorithm which will give the accuracy in prediction, or you will having add 3 4 features like soil analysis, water requirement, fertilizer requirement. These type of 3 4 requirements you add, you get the data set, run the classifier or predictor, and then give the results with 2 3 graphs, and compare your work with the previous one, and then you can write your research paper. It's not that much difficult. If you have the idea, clearer idea, you can do it.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Or seek are you student or faculty?
I'm a student. I'm a student.
Student, then take the help of your faculty, or in this session Dr. Gupta is there,
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Arvind is there, so you just seek the permission or seek the guidance and they will help you out. कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है.
It means like I'm dealing with health issues since past one month. So I did not contact them. I'll be
Well,
doing that.
it's all fine. The teachers are like whenever you will approach them, they will help you out. You just talk to Dr. Gupta, Dr. Arvind, and you just bring your idea to them. They will help you out. Not an issue. I don't think it is an issue. Otherwise, I am here. I'm also a faculty. I'll help you out. We can work in collaboration. You approach Dr. Gupta, Dr. Srinivas Murthy, or Dr. Arvind. You contact them, and then we can collaborate even if you want to write a paper. Not an issue. Any
Yeah.
other queries? Yes, please. Any other queries from anybody? I hope your day one of outreach program is good with you and it is fruitful.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, a very good afternoon, one and all. I hope everyone is happy with the day one session, and we learn very much information about the machine learning, what of the information, and what are the steps to be followed to get the interpretation and evaluations and machine learning workflows, and what are the applications of machine learning, and what is supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. It's a very great mm, so it's a very pleasure to attend this session. So I hope everyone is happy with the day one session, guys. And tomorrow we'll meet again 3 o'clock sharp. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thanks for your
Thank you so much, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, audience. You guys are really very, very good. And thank you for the patient learning. And I hope you will enjoy the session and you will learn
Yeah,
from the sessions. Thank you so much, sir.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes. So guys, tomorrow we'll meet again 3 o'clock sharp. Thank you.